On this show, we're gonna do some business.
Could I have a refund?
What the hell do you think this is? Get out of here.
Bake with mixes from a box.
Oh.
Taste them.
This was disgusting.
And rate them. Let's go. Tucker, there's a line of people outside this place all wanting refunds because they said you sold them baked goods that came from a box.
Hi, Teddy. Listen, before you say anything, this is my business. It's totally legit. I'm a job creator. I create jobs. See? There's a member of my staff.
Hi, how are you?
She hardly says a word. I love her.
How'd you even finance this place? You didn't hack people's Bitcoin wallets again, did you?
No, all that shit's fake anyway. I'm an entrepreneur. I have multiple businesses, but if you must know, I got the money from selling a calendar that just flew off the shelves.
For this holiday season, dazzle your loved ones and your hard-to-shop-for relatives with Bears on Buffet 2025. 12 months of bears at buffets of all kinds. Order now. These bears have gone wild.
You sold a calendar of pictures of me at the buffet? Tucker, my love for buffets is private.
No, it's not, and I just photoshopped you into a bunch of buffet pictures. Look at June. You're wearing a very tasteful bikini.
Okay, forget the calendar, Tucker. You can't run a bakery selling items made from a boxed mix. It's dishonest.
Oh yeah? You gonna tell that to Martha Stewart? She loves this place.
It's a good thing.
That's your staff member wearing a Martha Stewart mask.
What, is this like that white after Labor Day thing? You can't wear a Martha Stewart mask after Halloween or something? Also, she has a name, and her name is Kathy.
It's Sarah.
Her name is Sandra.
Mr. Tucker, I'm Lloyd Freeman from the Department of Public Health.
Oh my God.
Relax, Teddy. Lloyd is just here to order some peanut butter coffee cake on his way to work. Right, Lloyd?
I'm afraid we're here to shut this place down.
Mr. Freeman, we have the highest standards of cleanliness in this bakery. I mean, most of this stuff came from a box. We barely did any work.
No, the place looks spotless, Mr. Tucker, but you just haven't applied for a permit to serve food. You have to do that before you serve food to the public, among other things.
Oh, that part. Yep. Wait, if the business is shut down, I don't owe any of those people outside money, do I? Finally, bureaucratic red tape saves the day. Take me away, boys. Teddy, you'll clean up, right?
I really liked March, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
You're watching We Only Talk About Peanut Butter, the show devoted to all things made of, featuring, and flavored by peanut butter! I'm Tucker, and peanut butter is more than just a food. It's also a conditioner for leather. The holiday season is upon us, when family members annihilate our clothing choices more enthusiastically than usual while passing canned cranberry sauce. Hourly workers are drafted into glorious battles at all hours of the night with the general public, and the Hallmark Channel finds yet another minutia of the holidays to turn into some kind of rom-com with the same plot as their last 300 movies. Baking is a big-time activity during the holidays here in the US, and though peanut butter as a flavor kind of takes a back seat to
Pumpkin spice.
There's still a lot we peanut butter lovers can contribute to the dessert display with peanut butter treats. So today, we decided we'd bake up a bunch of peanut butter boxed baking mixes to figure out if there are any widely available winners you can use to save the office holiday party or upstage your auntie's sucky snickerdoodles at the family feast. We'll be sampling 2 mixes each in 3 categories of peanut butter desserts. Right now, the doctor, the dame, the brand, Betty Crocker is dominating in the peanut butter baking mix product landscape, so most of these goodies will be coming from her kitchen, but we'll also be sprinkling in a couple of competitors and one mix that's not even peanut butter based that we'll be enhancing with our sacred spread. To be as fair as possible, we'll be rating these items on how well they deliver an overall peanut butter experience, and we won't be factoring in how easy the instructions were, or how the items were packaged, or any other variables outside of flavor, also taking into consideration the possibility of execution errors in baking on my part. Yeah. So let's grease the pans, preheat the oven, pretend Paul Hollywood is saying something patently unhelpful, and let's get into this shit. But before we do that, Peanutters, have you ever messed up with a boxed baking mix? Tell us about it in the comments. No judgment, no shame. First category, peanut butter cookies. We've tackled the topic of peanut butter cookies before in one of our previous videos where we rated cookies by several bakers and also talked about the qualities that make a superior peanut butter cookie. And when baking at home, the rules don't change. Good cookies have good chemistry, adequate baking time, deep peanut butter flavor, and no I don't even know what this accent is. No gimmicks. First up, Reese's Pieces Peanut Butter Cookie Mix by Betty Crocker. In my experience, boxed baking mixes can be hit or miss, and Reese's Pieces can actually skew a bit sweet flavor-wise, so I went into making these with a reasonable amount of trepidation. I'm happy for Mrs. Betty's sake that I was predictably wrong. These cookies are pretty good. Are they the best peanut butter cookies ever? Absolutely not, but I really stuck to the baking instructions, especially about the size of the dough balls recommended for baking, and I feel like I got a pretty okay result. The sugars were caramelized, the outside was nicely crispy, and the center was just set. Candy in baked goods can sometimes catch, as they say, in the oven, but the Reese's Pieces in this cookie didn't. You know, it doesn't smack the teeth out of my head with peanut butter, but they balanced the recipe enough that the Reese's Pieces add another touch of peanut butter and a nice candy shell crunch texture. The reasonably good delivery of peanut butter flavor and excellent use of Reese's Pieces in a baked good gets Betty Crocker's Reese's Pieces Peanut Butter Cookie Mix an official rating of 3 nuts out of 5. Teddy, take a little piece of my heart.
Meh, it's fine.
Next up, Halo Top's Peanut Butter Chocolate Chip Light Cookie Mix. Halo Top rose to fame for their ice cream. Well, it's actually not ice cream, it's a frozen dessert thingy that allows you to eat an entire pint of the stuff, consuming a fraction of the calories in a normal pint of ice cream. For my fellow olds, for my fellow oldies, this is basically giving Wow Chips Olestra realness with a similar melange of side effects. As Ted Danson said on that show I'll never watch, there's something so human about taking something great and ruining it a little so you can have more of it. That's what Halo Top is basically doing with their peanut butter chocolate chip light cookie mix. These cookies don't require many ingredients to bake them up, just butter and water, so the dough is presumably safe to eat raw. You should check the package though to be sure. I didn't. The dough actually tasted pretty good. It wasn't super peanut butter forward. It was kind of a slightly peanut buttery, slightly butterscotchy taste, but the texture was good and the chocolate chips were fine. It could have been so much worse. Turns out to make this worse, all you have to do is bake it. No joke, when I baked per the instructions, it came out looking okay, except the bottom got a little brown for my taste and the chocolate chips got kind of overdone. I wondered if the baked flavor being worse was actually just me being an idiot, which is a real possibility in most situations. But when I baked one of these up again and took it out earlier in the bake, it was still just kind of gross. It doesn't taste like the dough, and it doesn't taste like peanut butter, really. It just kind of tastes like chemicals, or it just tastes fake. This quote-unquote light peanut butter cookie thing was kind of a doomed concept from the beginning due to the calorie density of peanut butter. They tried. I don't know if they should have. I don't want to encourage raw dough eating, so I'm going to ixnay my rating based on the dough and just conclude that the lack of peanut butter flavor and the chemical taste gets Halo Top's Peanut Butter Chocolate Chip Light Cookie Mix an official rating of 0 nuts out of 5. Teddy, I can see your Halo Top, and I would sing that, but Beyonce would murder us.
This hurt my stomach.
Next category, peanut butter cake. But before we do that, if you're still here, leave us a like. Peanut butter cake, like cookies, can actually be a pretty risky proposition because bakers often don't account for the fat ratio in the peanut butter and the extra mixing it can sometimes require, which can leave cakes dry, tough, and crumbly. Since baking mixes are supposed to make baking more accessible to folks who don't do much of it, my hope is that we're going to get a good result with balanced chemistry. But I also hoped for a season 2 of Caprica, and we all know how that turned out. First up, Reese's Coffee Cake by Betty Crocker. Coffee cake can be dicey. If the recipe doesn't include a frosting or a glaze that hits the outer surface area of the cake, you better be bringing that moisture to the crumb, my chum, because otherwise the cake will have a lovely desiccated texture that could scrape the enamel off your teeth. I was curious how Reese's Coffee Cake would fare since peanut butter cake can be dry on its own and because this cake doesn't have a glaze, so here we go. The instructions were simple and I believe I baked it as instructed. I was pleasantly surprised by the cake fresh from the oven. It had kind of a nice hint of peanut butter to it and it didn't really read as dry on my tongue. The streusel, which is always one of my favorite things about coffee cake, didn't really do much for this except lend a different textural note. The peanut butter flavor is not really super present in the cake. The peanut butter chips in the cake are doing the lion's share of the heavy lifting when it comes to peanut butter taste. When the cake cooled down or was refrigerated, it actually didn't taste as good, and I'm thinking that's because the heat of the oven made the peanut butter chips bloom a bit more, or made the peanut butter flavor in the cake bloom more. I'm not sure. Anyway, cake doesn't usually get worse a day later if stored correctly in my experience. This needs a glaze and it kind of needs a new recipe. It could be really good. I just think they need to up the peanut butter ante in all respects. The scant peanut butter flavor, some questionable texture on the crumb, and the fact that the flavor kind of degraded over time gets Reese's Coffee Cake by Betty Crocker an official rating of 2 nuts out of 5. Teddy, would you dunk this?
Too dry.
After tasting Betty's try at a peanut butter coffee cake, I started thinking about whether home bakers could do just as well by doctoring an existing cake mix, so I got my hands on a solid cinnamon coffee cake mix by Krusteaz and decided to add around 1/3 of a cup of peanut butter to it. I went lighter than I normally would on the peanut butter because I wanted to make sure I didn't mess up the fat ratio beyond repair, and I used the insanely delicious, no salt, no sugar added Teddy smooth peanut butter to make sure not to throw the sugar level out of balance when it hit the mix. I did end up adding salt to the peanut butter so it would actually taste more peanut buttery. I put a sparing amount of the cinnamon streusel in the middle because cinnamon can sometimes highlight peanut butter, and I chucked it in the oven and hoped for the best. Here's what I can tell you about how this turned out. I didn't screw up the fat ratio. The cake itself had a better texture than the Reese's Coffee Cake, but didn't really get to the levels of peanut butter that I had hoped. I might try this again, simply because the moisture and texture of this mix is so good, but I'll up the peanut butter flavor and see what I get. Official rating for this cake wreck is a generous 1 nut out of 5. Teddy, give us more from your lovin' oven.
I think you should audition for Nailed It.
We've got one more category, but before we do that, hey, please subscribe to us. It's free. It's totally free. And we're never going to read ads to you in the middle of our videos to sell you products. We're never going to ask you to join a Patreon or a membership site to pay for our videos or try to make this our job. We have full-time jobs, and this is just a fun thing we do that we want to share with you. So subscribe. All right, back to the video. Last category, no-bake desserts. One of the reasons peanut butter seems to come in clutch for no-bake desserts is because peanut butter is an already cooked item. It stays ready. It's already ready already, as they used to say in the commercial for those frozen daiquiri mixes for wine moms in the 1990s. This readiness makes it really usable in recipes that are less about baking and more about assembly, which describes no-bake desserts. They're assembled, usually but not always, consisting of some kind of textured crust layer, a pudding or emulsion layer, and then a topping of some kind. No-bake desserts are like the participation trophy of baking. We all know you didn't really do anything of note, but what you did do is probably fine, and at least you didn't set the house on fire. First up, Betty Crocker's Reese's Peanut Butter No-Bake Bars Mix. These are another throwback to a lunch lady fave that we who are ancient would get in ye oldie-timey school cafeteria for 5 hay pennies. Betty has actually changed the recipe for these bars a couple of times. They used to come with their own pan and had a cookie crust on the bottom. The new recipe has no pan and no crust. It's basically a peanut butter fake fudge with a chocolate frosting. Frosting on fudge, which is also known as a life worth living. It sort of messed up the assembly of these because I was rushing, but basically you can kind of do no wrong with these bars because they're that good. It doesn't matter if they look like they were made by a 5-year-old in the middle of a hurricane, the flavors will still be there. You just melt some butter, stir in the peanut butter mix, pound it into a pan, and then squeeze the packet of frosting like we used to squeeze the cheese sauce bag they provided for Velveeta shells and cheese because, you know, forget the powder, please. Look at how unencumbered she is without the powdered cheese. I love that. Anyway, frost the fudge, throw it in the fridge, and Bob's your uncle in a few hours. These are heavenly. You cannot go wrong with the amount of butter in these bars. They're delicious. Really exceptionally strong peanut butter flavor. Nice frosting even though it's not fresh buttercream. The peanut butter is grainy and salty, smooth and sweet in all the right places. Fantastic roasted flavor. I literally have no notes except bring back the pan, Betty. I loved the pan. The unparalleled peanut butter prominence and the refreshingly straightforward nature of these bars gets Betty Crocker's Reese's Peanut Butter No-Bake Bars Mix an official rating of 5. Yep, that's right. 5 out of 5 nuts. Teddy, no holds barred.
What did you do to the top of this?
Teddy, stop. Last item of the day, Country Home Creations No-Bake Peanut Butter Cheesecake Mix. I had never heard of these folks, so I thought I'd give their mix a whirl. Peanut butter no-bake cheesecake is kind of like peanut butter no-bake pie, which we covered a ton of in one of our previous videos. To assemble, you basically use cream cheese, the mix, and then fold in the whipped cream and slam that into a cookie crust of some kind and drop kick it into the fridge to cool out. let me be very generous here, this was disgusting. Okay, so firstly, the mix is basically sugar and brown sugar and cornstarch and allegedly some peanuts and quote-unquote natural flavors. Did you all hear peanut butter mentioned anywhere in there? Because I didn't. Where is the peanut butter? Also, this mix that I bought must have been old or something because the filling developed these tiny weird pearls of cornstarch that crunched strangely when you tried to eat it. It must have been cornstarch that just needed to hydrate because a day or so later the crunch was gone, but the disappointing lack of peanut butter flavor was still there. The dearth of peanut butter taste, strange tiny cornstarch dragees, and the fact that you could literally just skip the mix and use peanut butter, cream cheese, and whipped topping for this gets Country Home Creations no-bake peanut butter cheesecake mix an official rating of 0 nuts out of 5. Teddy, I don't think I can let you eat this.
This tastes like sweet pate from hell.
Well, peanutters, baking skills don't come in a box, but baking mixes do, and these mixes have shown us a couple of reasons to keep peanut butter in your holiday feasts. They also showed us that people can get a class action lawsuit going fairly quickly when you try to use health code violations as a cover to keep from processing refunds. If I had to have a peanut butter pick of the day, I'd give it to Betty Crocker's Reese's Peanut Butter No-Bake Bars Mix. They're really simple, but steadfast in their peanut butter flavor, a supremely reliable crowd pleaser. But for today, that's all the peanut butter palaver we have. Are you a peanut butter lover? Tell us about your favorite treats in the comments. Leave us a like on the video and subscribe for more peanut butter content saturation. Thanks for watching.